Hello, everyone. I'd like to talk today about the concept of the word psychoneuroimmunology. We've all heard the saying, "Oh, they can make themselves sick," or "Can people make themselves better?" Well, neuroimmunology actually looks at this concept. Can we, in fact, help make ourselves better or make ourselves sick? When we're looking at the word psychoneuroimmunology, we break it into components. And the components that we're going to be looking at components are going to be the brain, the psycho part, the nerves, and the nervous system, or the neuro part, and the immune system, or what I like to think of as our defense system. Okay, so what happens with the brain? What are some of the things that we see when we're looking at the brain? Well, we can think of stress affecting our brain. We can think of anxiety and what happens when we have maybe fears, whether they are real fears, like there's a bear standing outside our window, or, oh, if I'm late for work, I'll lose my job. All of those can be broken into either actual or perceived fears, but our body responds the same way, whether it's truly a bear standing outside our window or inside our window, which would be worse, or I'm going to be late and lose my job potentially. Our body can react the same way. With anxiety, we can look at anxiety mostly, or also having the the components of being a psychosocial or a social stress. A lot of our anxiety comes when we're actually socially stressed. I don't know how they're going to react. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to do. I wonder what they're going to say. All of those things within our brain can create reactions, whether real or perceived. They can all have reactions in our body, which brings us to the nervous system component, or the autonomic nervous system component. Now, within the autonomic nervous system, we have two divisions. One is the sympathetic, and the other is the parasympathetic. Okay? The parasympathetic reacts more when our body is nice and relaxed. It's what we often refer to as the rest and the digest system. The sympathetic nervous system, though, is more of our fight. We need to fight to survive, or we need to flight. We need to get out of here so that we can survive. And that's part of our sympathetic nervous system. And the sympathetic system is what is triggered when we're having a lot of stress or anxiety, or if we fear that bear is actually outside our window, or perhaps going to bite us. The last part, or the last component of this system, is our immune system. And when we're looking at our immune system, we're looking at our body ability to fight, our body ability to fight disease, okay? Our body ability to recognize when there might be potential cells, or when there might be potential systems in our body that are under conflict, okay? And when we're looking at this body system, this body defenses, we're thinking about the cells, okay? We're thinking about the cells of our body, or the immune system's ability to fight and to recognize those cells when it's coming in. So those are all part of it. So what types of things are we going to be looking at in the brain? We'll be looking at the stress and the anxiety, whether it's real, whether it's perceived, okay? So what could some of these stresses be? Well, let's say we're worried about our job, okay? We're worried about our job. Do we make enough money? Can we pay the mortgage? Okay. Are we going to be overworked and underpaid? Is it going to create conflict between our relationships with other people or within the job itself? Are we having a lot of issues with kids or daycare issues? Those types of things. Can we pay our mortgage? Okay. Can we pay our mortgage, or can we pay our bills? Can we pay our bills? Are we able to finance our lifestyle? Or if we want to look at people outside of perhaps the United States or outside of a comfort zone, we can think of the people in war-torn areas. And in this case, they're going to be worried about food. Do they have enough food, or do they have any food? Do they have bombs falling on them? Do they have disease that they're worried about? Do they have war areas? All of these things can create severe trauma and severe stress and anxiety on the brain. So the look at psychoneuroimmunology is, well, can all of that stress, can all of that anxiety actually cause some type of systematic change in the body? Well, if we're looking at the nervous system, okay, in reaction to any of these different types of things, whether we're looking at jobs causing me stress, kids are causing me stress, I don't have enough money, or I have to worry about safety and food and disease. All of these are going to cause a reaction in our body called an autonomic reaction, okay, or our fight or flight, which is going to be the division of the sympathetic nervous system. When we're looking at this nervous system and what happens, we have something triggered, and this trigger is going to be something we call the trigger of the pituitary adrenal axis. Now, what this is the pituitary is a gland within our brain, okay, that holds and helps to secrete a lot of our hormones that we use in this fight or flight system. Those hormones are going to be released when the brain triggers it. So if the brain is stressed, it's going to cause the release or tell the pituitary to release these hormones, which are going to cascade and run to the adrenal gland, and the adrenal gland will release more hormones. So it's kind of a cascade, or it's kind of a relay between one part of the endocrine system to another. And within this pituitary adrenal axis, some of the hormones that were going to be released are going to be cortisol. Okay? There's also going to be neurotransmitters released. And these, again, are going to cause more reaction, or more of that body's reaction to survive, so the fight or flight. Now, when these are released, such as, just say, for example, the cortisol, there's going to be certain changes, like our glucose levels are going to go up. So we're going to raise our glucose levels. And these are all based on the reactions of the sympathetic nervous system, okay? Some of our neurotransmitters that might be released are, say, adrenaline, or epinephrine and norepinephrine. These are going to help our bodies to rise to the occasion, okay? To be strong, to make sure that we have the energy to run away from the bear, or to run away from that stress and anxiety. Remember, our brain perceives them to be the same. Well, this all sounds wonderful. It sounds great that, yay, I'm going to be in top shape. Yay, I'm going to be able to fight those bears. But what happens when this is long term? Well, it can raise our blood pressure, it can raise our glucose levels, and it can raise our heart rates, just to name a few of those things. So we're just going to say it's going to raise our heart rates, our blood pressure, and our glucose. We'll come back to those in a second. They're going to raise all those levels, okay? So let's leave that. The other component, the body's fighting system, or the cells that fight it. These are going to be our white blood cells. These are going to be our lymphocytes, or our lymph cells. And another important component are going to be our natural killer cells, our natural killer cells, are cells that have a lot of ability to detect different rogue cells or mutated cells that we often refer to as cancer cells. So these are all going to be part of what we're looking at when we're looking at the word psychoneuroimmunology. So let's just put this together and see how it can affect the system. So if we're looking at this body, this great big puzzle here that we have, we can look at one part of the puzzle and we can say that, all right, so if we have anxiety, I'm going to have to write small. If we have a lot of anxiety or stress or fear, whether it is perceived or whether it is real, it can cause a change in our body with that pituitary adrenal axis. And in that pituitary adrenal axis, then we can start having the release of these hormones and neurotransmitters that are going to cause our blood pressure to go up. It's going to cause our heart rate to stay higher. It's going to cause our immune system to be hyperactive or hypervigilant, okay? Which sounds like a good thing, except in a long-term situation, what happens? We start getting tired. Our immune system then starts faltering and starts becoming resistant. It says, oh, it's just another cell. I'm too tired to fight it. Or I'm too depleted. My natural killer cells, my immune cells are all becoming depleted because it's in that constant state of stress and anxiety, the constant state of stimulation. So what happens in essence, our immune system starts to fail and starts to become more or less resistant to disease. So all of this happens then, the stress and anxiety creates this overstimulation of our nervous system, and in essence, if I can complete the circle here of this puzzle, okay, our cells or our immune system becomes compromised, okay? It can't recognize, so it becomes compromised. And as it becomes compromised, then disease can become more prevalent, can take hold of our system. Cancers can become more constant or less detected in our body. And as these come in, our body is more vulnerable. So if we want to look at the equation here, stress, okay, can equal vulnerability. Vulnerability. And as we become more vulnerable to disease and to problems with our body, we can succumb to then disease. We can succumb to cancers, okay? And so when our body was able to fight before, now it's depleted, and now we have more risk. So when we're looking at psychoimmunology, we're going to see that there is a connection between the mind and the body. There is a connection. And if we want to say how we can use this information, when we're looking at diseases and when we're looking at the body's effect on diseases, then what we can look at is, are we addressing the immune system? Are we addressing the stimulation of the nervous system or the immune system? Are we looking at the body's ability to continually fight, continually flight? And then, if we back up to one of the more important ones, are we looking at how the brain reacts to stress and anxiety? Are we looking at that constant barrage of fear or constant barrage of stress and its long-term effects on the body and the body system? All of this is the study of psychoneuroimmunology. Thank you.